Okay, so here what is Docker is a containerization tool which is used for deploying our applications. So we can deploy our applications using containers is getting more popular. Previously, we have monolithic applications. In the monolithic applications, we used to deploy using the normal methods, but now we have microservices. The application code has been divided into multiple microservices. Previously, the complete code is as a one single bundle we are getting. But now based on the modules and microservices, we are dividing the application. When we go for the microservice kind of application deployment, we are using Docker and Kubernetes. The Docker is one of the containerization technology using the Linux, Windows or Mac containers. Say we need to deploy. Previously for this purpose itself, we need to use the virtual machines. Okay, so we used to work with the virtual machines, but virtual machines will consume lot of resources, lot of CPU memory of the host are required, and more virtual machines are required. We want to deploy multiple applications. The solution for this is the containers. Can you tell me what are the challenges we have with the virtual machines? So we require more resources and it requires more CPU and so more CPU and processing is required. So more CPU and processing is required. More virtual machines are required. Unnecessarily, in order to deploy the application, we are wasting lot of resources. So that is the reason we are going for microservice kind of application architecture. There we can deploy the applications as the containers, and that will consume less resources. And application also can be booted very fastly. So we have a lot of advantages to go for microservice kind of applications using Java, Spring Boot, and mostly front end would be React JS or Angular JS. So .NET MVC. So these kind of applications have been Node.js applications. These all using microservice kind of architecture. In order to deploy those applications, we are going for Docker and Kubernetes. So we need to go to container versus virtual machine. The virtualization at the hardware level is going to work. Containers on the Linux is going to work. So now here, we want 3 application environments. In this example, how many environments we have taken?
3.
Three virtual machines. But here the 3 environments also we can set up as in one mission itself, but we are going to deploy them as 3
containers.
3 containers we are going to deploy. As the 3 containers we are going to deploy. Okay, so now here in order to deploy the virtual machines, hypervisor is mandatory. Say this may be even in AWS also we are using GenSource like this. The hypervisor is mandatory. Okay, whereas if you go for the containers,
Container
will have one hypervisor. On top of that, we'll have the host operating system. That host operating system may be
Windows, Mac, Linux.
Windows, Linux, or Mac. Okay, on top of that, we are going to install container engine. So what is the container engine we have installed?
Docker, Kubernetes.
The Docker is a container engine. On top of that, container orchestration is Kubernetes.
Okay.
The container engine is
Docker.
Docker. Like this, multiple or thousands of containers you have that can be orchestrated by Kubernetes. And in this example, how many containers are running?
3.
3 containers. Traditionally, we require 3 virtual machines for this. Okay. So what is the main advantage is the booting speed or iteration speed and microservices kind of applications can be deployed. But some security wise, some risks are there. Okay. So what are the popular container providers is Docker. Docker is one of the Docker is one of the popular, not only containers means not Docker itself, but the people are having an understanding containers means Docker itself. But there are a lot of containers kind of technologies are there. But the most popular and broadly accepted container runtime or Docker container engine is Docker. Okay. And what is Docker Hub? So all the images we need to store in one registry or repository. So that is Docker Hub. So we can get to some thousands of images are available and we can use those images whenever we want. Okay. So for that purpose, we are going for
Docker Hub.
Docker Hub. So we are going for the Docker Hub. The virtual machine is security is little more, but disadvantage storage cost is there. We have VirtualBox or ESXi server. Okay, so better to go for containers, and virtual machines are getting more popular day by day. So containers are Dockers are getting more popular. So here we need to develop the different versions of applications and operating systems we need to deploy in the virtual machine. And lot of environments we require. Those all simplified with the container. Okay, so easy to deploy the applications using the containers. Okay, so whereas size is also containers are in MB, whereas virtual machines are GBs. But less control we will manage that. So storage also will have persistency options, but we have the solutions for all those. So we have Elastic Container Services, AWS service. Then we'll go for a Docker architecture. So what are the components we have with the Docker architecture? So here we have three tools. So one is Docker client, where we can run the commands, and Docker host. Then we have the Docker registry. So we have client, Docker host, Docker registry. Okay. So what is the meaning of Docker client is, say we are going to run the commands. It's a command line kind of tool. Okay. So both in the same mission now, we have client and Docker host. So in the Docker host or Docker engine or Docker daemon, okay, is used to run the containers. And what is Docker registry? Docker Hub is a Docker registry. In AWS, what is the Docker registry we have is the ECR, Elastic Container Registry. Otherwise, ACR, Azure Container Registry or Google Container Registry. You want to keep local, then we have DTR, Docker Trusted Registry. Okay, that is for the private. Okay, so here, what are the components we have in the Docker architecture?
Client, host, and registry.
Docker client, Docker host, and Docker
Registry.
the Docker registry. Okay, so from the Docker registry, the images are pulling to local. From that, we are going to run the container. Say here we have two terms. What is the Docker image and what is Docker
Containers.
container? In the AWS also will have the AMI, Amazon Mission Image. Here, this is a Docker image. Okay, and the container is running. say in the AMI2 instance we are running. The running state of image is called as a container. The Docker client is nothing but a command line kind of tool. And Docker registry is nothing but Docker registry is nothing but
Docker Hub.
yeah, Docker Hub in our environment. Otherwise, if you are using AWS,
It will be ECR.
ECR, Elastic Container Registry. Okay, and we'll have some thousands of images are available. Those are called as Docker images. It's a read-only template kind of file in order to create the containers. Say those having the instructions in the AWS also will have the AMI. Okay, we are going to create the images, and from those images we are going to deploy. So meanwhile, I'll install one instance. One second, I'll log in. We'll install one instance. On top of that, we'll install the Docker. So directly we can use one container service also, like AWS managed container services, ECS, Elastic Container Service. So you can take any of the OS like Linux, but any Linux is also is fine. So I have taken Ubuntu. Said don't go with 8 GB because we can't run multiple containers, because containers images again all to run the containers we require more resources. Hence minimum give 20 plus or 30 GB. So now here we have two layers. One is our operating system, our host is there. Again, hypervisor is there. But now hypervisor is managed by AWS. What is the hypervisor we have here? In AWS, what is the hypervisor? So what is the hypervisor in AWS? Zen source is the hypervisor. Zen source is the, on top of that, one Ubuntu instance has been created. On top of that, we are going to run the containers. So these layers we need to understand. Initially, for 1 week like this, we'll have the challenge like this. Okay. But today we need to deploy minimum 10 to 20 containers. Then we'll understand what is the difference between a virtual machine, normally traditional installation, and how we can manage those through containers. So both we need to manage. So I'm going to connect to that instance. So this is the Ubuntu key pair. The Docker package may be either Docker or docker.io community edition, docker.ce. Choose the exact package. I think docker.io is the package. I've installed Docker here. Okay, so now the Docker has been installed. So we have a command line tool, right? Docker CLI this is. So we got a lot of commands, right? These all works with Docker CLI. Okay, so these all works with Docker CLI. And the Docker engine also is running here itself. Okay, so now if you come to this, say here itself, we have Docker client, that is CLI we are using, and Docker host also, it is Docker daemon also is running here itself. Okay, using the Docker CLI, we are going to hit the Docker daemon. Okay, and it's all the commands are going to run in the Docker daemon itself. Whatever the commands you run, those all is running here. And it's going to pull the images. This is a public image. Hence, internet is mandatory. Otherwise, we can't pull the images. If you don't have the internet, okay. If you don't want internet privately want access means we need to go for DTR kind of thing. Yeah. So now, I'll increase the font size. So now I need to check whether that service is running or not. So check the Docker status. Docker engine service should be running. And I have enabled for the subsequent login also. Docker. Okay. So one of the limitation as of now is root access is mandatory. That is the reason before running for every Docker command, we need to give sudo. But you need to tell like without using the sudo, how we can run the containers. So for this, we need to go for don't tell sudo su kind of thing. For the Ubuntu user itself, we need to give the permissions. Then without having the sudo or without having the root access also, we need to run the commands. That you need to tell in the tomorrow class, how to we can run without having the sudo kind of commands. Okay, so now I'm going to run sudo docker run hello world. So what is the command I have running? Hello world. Hello world is the image name. Okay, so then what's happening? Try to understand. Unable to find the image, hello world colon latest. What is the meaning of latest is the tag name. Okay, if I give the hello world only, then it download the latest image of, say in Ubuntu we have 20.04, 22.04. Normally, traditionally, if I give Ubuntu meaning is, it's going to download 22.04 because that is the latest one. Okay. Then, what is that pulling from library? What is that meaning? Because locally in the Docker mission, we don't have the image. That is the reason it's downloaded from where it's downloaded that image, hello world image.
Docker Hub.
From Docker Hub, it's downloaded. Okay. So here it's downloaded in the local mission, right? Somewhere it would be stored. You need to tell me the path of that image where it has been stored. So you need to tell me where the image that has been stored. And here, hello from Docker. And what it's done. Okay, here we have the 4 steps. The Docker client contacted the Docker daemon. Docker daemon pull the hello world image from
Docker Hub.
Hub. The Docker daemon created a new container. Okay, so then this output, the hello world is a basic command, the first container kind of command. It confirms our Docker environment is working fine. Okay, it won't have any functionally like nothing, but it confirms us our Docker environment is fine. Okay, so then I'll go for I need to give sudo as of now, but tomorrow you need to come with a solution without giving the sudo also. I need to run the Docker commands. So Docker PS is one command. So Docker PS will show us what are the running containers we have. So we created one container using Docker run, right? But why that container is not running is hello world is one kind of container which will be exited automatically once that message has been displayed. So that is the reason it's not running continuously. Okay, so then sudo docker ps -a. Okay, so can you tell what is the difference between docker ps and ps-a? What is the difference between ps and ps-a?
PS shows only running containers. Like,
PS shows only the running containers. Even
Yeah.
if the container is stopped, exited, okay. So those all will be shown in
-a.
yeah, -a. -a stands for
All.
All.
-a stands for all containers. No doubts, right? So now so what is this? Hello world. Locally now it's downloaded. So locally that image has been pulled, right? So Docker images will show us
Pulled images.
local images. What are the images? But tomorrow you need to tell me the path of this image where it has been stored. Okay, where that image has been stored, you need to tell. Okay, so then so Docker info is another command. It shows a lot of details. So for practice purpose, try to run multiple. So Docker info shows what is the version of these containers, how many running containers, how many parsed containers, how many stopped containers, how many images. Okay, storage. Like just go through all these options. What it is showing with the Docker info. Okay, then type the Docker. We'll get a lot of commands right here. Okay, so here these are the important commands. All the options we have. Just go through all these and try to type all the commands also. Docker attach, build, commit. So what it will do? Try to write down all these commands once. Okay, already we use Docker PS kind of things, or Docker info we use. Docker info we use. Docker. I'll search. Okay, so here if I don't give sudo, then it throws that error. Sudo docker search. Can you tell me what is this command is showing is, whatever the MySQL images we have in Docker Hub, it is displaying all those images. Say whether it's official image or not. Okay. So Docker search that image name, from where it is searching?
Docker Hub.
From the Docker Hub, and all the MySQL related images, it is displaying to us. All the MySQL related images, it is displaying. For that purpose, we are going for
Docker search.
going for the Docker search. Okay, then if we want to pull the image, so if I don't give any version meaning, is what is that meaning?
It will download the latest version.
Latest one. If we want to see what are the local images we have, what is the command? Want to
Yes.
download the latest images, what is the command we have? What is the command? So now we got the two images. So now try to understand. What is this meaning? Say in Tomcat, I don't want latest version. I want
Specific 9 versions.
Tomcat 9 I want. So then Tomcat itself, we have two tags. One is 9, that is the version. Second one is
Latest.
latest. Okay. If you want to remove any image locally, RMI. One container is using, even that is exited. If you want to remove it forcefully, -F. Okay. And if that container if you want to remove, you will remove that based on the container ID. Okay, that container got deleted now. That container got deleted. So what is the difference between RM and RMI?
RMI will remove the image, sir, and
Yeah,
RM will.
image. You can use the image IDs also. Image name or image ID, and container name or container ID.
Okay, sir.
Okay, RM is for removing the container. As of now, I don't have any running containers, and even say stopped or all containers also, I don't have anything. So now I'm going to create my first container. Hello world is only for the testing purpose we use. Run we can use or create also, but mostly create with the run command itself. Sudo docker run. And this is the container name. So in the even instance also we are giving the name or not. In the same way, we are going to give the name for the container. Hyphen name, my Tomcat, and hyphen port. What is this port also we'll discuss. Okay. Outside to the container, the host port is 8080, and internally also it is using 8080 itself. And hyphen D is a detach mode. I'll explain what is the D. If you don't give the detach mode, your container would be running in the foreground itself. But now, instead of running in the foreground, it will be running in the background. Then can you tell me what is the Tomcat? What is the Tomcat? The Tomcat is the image name. So what is the difference between my Tomcat and Tomcat here?
We are assigning the name for our containers. First
Come
line.
again.
We are assigning the name, my Tomcat.
My
Container.
Tomcat is the
Container names,
container name. Tomcat is
the image names,
image. From that image, the container is getting
installed.
created. The container is getting created. So now the container created, because already we have the Tomcat image, right? Otherwise, what it is going to do?
It will ask us to download from the
It's going to
Docker,
download the Tomcat container from where?
Docker Hub.
From Docker Hub. Okay. So this Docker PS is running, right? Just show through what is the container ID, name, command, okay, created, status, ports, okay, and my Tomcat is the name of this. Okay, so I'll try to access this container based on the IP address. So this container is not coming. Can you tell me which is blocking us?
We have to configure port 8080. Sir.
80. So go to security group. So now here, try to understand. Normally in the Tomcat, we will get a Tomcat page. Okay, so we will get a Tomcat page. Okay, so but why here we are not getting that page is, in order to reduce the size of the Docker image, all those files have been removed. But this shows this Tomcat has been running. Okay, what is the version of the Tomcat here?
Version 10. Sir.
10.1.12. Okay, so now I'll run one more container, try to understand. I need to give another name because I'll get a duplicate kind of thing. My Tomcat 9 version I'll install. Here I can't give the same port. Internal port is can be 8080 itself, but outside I'm going to attach to access this container 8081. Okay, then Tomcat 9. So previously, like installing Tomcat on 2 versions, we require 2 virtual machines. But here we are going to install on the
Same containers.
on the same container itself. Now that container has been running. Okay, so now I need to open this through 8081 or 8080?
8081.
8081. Why it is not accessing?
Because we have to again configure it.
Again in the security group, we need to open 8081. I have opened almost 5 ports. Even open IPv6 also. So then this is 9.0 point. 9.0.79.
79.
That means both the versions also running in the same mission. With the 8080, I'm accessing 10.1.12. With the 8081, I'm running 9.0.79. Now try to understand. I'm going to give one more port. I'll remove this detach mode. I'll remove this detach mode, then we'll see what happens. So if I don't use the detach mode, okay, your container would be running in the
foregrounds.
in the foreground itself, it would be running. Okay, but in the real time, it's not recommended like this because we'll have some hundreds of containers all can't run in the foreground itself. That is the reason we are using the option
-D.
-D. -D means
Detach modes.
detach mode. In the -D is in the detach mode, we need to run this. So that container is stopped now. So here in the PS-A, we have 3 containers. 53 seconds back, this container also is created, but it won't show because that's exited. Now I want to remove that. Sudo docker. What is the command to remove that container?
RMI, sir.
RMI is for image. RM is for
And the container ID, sir.
the container. Okay, so then the container ID. So this is the container ID. Otherwise, we can give the name also. What is the name we given is my Tomcat new. Then I have removed that container. I have removed that container. So now only 2 containers I want. And the 10th version name is my Tomcat. That is also I want to remove that. Docker RM. This container won't delete because it's a running container. You want to remove the running container, then we need to use -F.
F.
So what is the meaning of -F?
It will force remove, sir.
Forcefully remove. So then we'll have maybe only one container. So only one container is there. A35F4 1E. Otherwise, the name is my Tomcat 9. Then that can be stopped. Again, you can start the container. The restart. So we'll try to restart. Okay, pass, unpass, kill. Okay, so these all comes under container life cycle. So what is that? Container
Life cycle.
life cycle. Your container goes to lot of stages. First, it would be created, running, stop, start, restart, kill, and like pass, unpass, terminated. Like this, it goes to lot of status.
Life
It
cycle.
goes. Okay, so that's all we need to explain as. So just like in the instance, we'll have the instance life cycle. The container also goes to container life cycle. Okay, so then if we want to go to get the logs of that container, maybe for troubleshooting purpose, sudo docker log. As of now, we have my Tomcat 9, I think. Logs. Okay. So without going to inside the container, we are going to retrieve the
History, sir. Logs.
we are going to retrieve the logs. So for monitoring purpose, we can use stats. Okay, each container, how much CPU it is utilizing. Otherwise, even if you want to get that from one container wise. Docker top. Okay, so Docker top will show one container related or all container excuse me, metrics will get through Docker stats. Docker stats. Okay. The monitoring wise, we are going to use those commands. Logging wise, sudo docker logs we are going to use. The top, pass, unpass. Okay. So try to rename a container. Okay. All these commands try to run. Okay. Most of the commands we have used, remaining all I'll explain in the tomorrow class. Try to create different containers. Okay. So try to create different containers. So I'll share all these commands also. Try to practice these all the commands. So please download that file.